Next, I would like to ask Representative Ben Keathley to speak on Charlie Kirk and share a few words.
I would like, could we get one more round of applause for Nikolai and John? I know how difficult it is. I was president of my own college Republicans group when I was back at Knox College as a freshman, and I brought John Ashcroft my first year, and I was met with death threats, people trying to break into my dorm room. I know what it's like on college campuses. It's why Charlie went there. He knew it was the front lines of what we were doing in the conservative movement, because it's where we've been losing the most ground. We send generation after generation of young people to our college campuses, and they turn on us, they turn on America, they turn on their faith, they turn on faith, family, and freedom because of what they learn in these campuses. They go to college and they're met with not a culture of freedom, not American culture or values. What they're met with is a culture of death. A culture that tells them it's okay to slaughter the unborn. A culture that tells them that excuses acts of infanticide by Hamas. And a culture that teaches them that it's okay to mutilate your body and to mutilate the bodies of young children. This is what they learn, and they excuse all of it through college ideas, and that's constantly what I know you're met with, because it's what I was met with years ago when I was there, and it's getting worse and worse, not better. It's why Charlie went there. It's why Charlie made the college campus debates the start of what he was doing and the movement he was bringing. And these guys need all the support. Scan those QR codes, because these guys need the help and support. They continue to be on the front lines representing Charlie's legacy going forward. I was going to start with a passage, and it's one thing that you've heard from a speaker here before, but it's a very different kind of passage, and that people have been using in the wake of Charlie's death. From Ephesians 6, finally be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. Ephesians isn't your typical type of funeral or memorial verse. It's not comfort. It's not filled with a message of peace. It's quite the opposite. When Paul wrote his letter to the Ephesians, he wasn't writing for a time of peace. He was captured, put into prison by the Romans, and sat there knowing he was probably eventually going to die. Not for anything he had done, but for a truth that he believed, and for a good news that he preached and spoke. That's why he was in jail. Sound familiar? Paul wasn't writing to the Ephesians out of peace or comfort. He was writing to them to prepare them for a time of war, a time of spiritual battle. I look at this, and from Senator Shore's tweets to the Vice President Vance's address in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, I've heard a lot of people bring up the full armor of God in that reference. Why is that resonating with all of us? Why are we talking about the full armor of God? Not looking for peace, but looking for what the meaning is in Charlie's life and what we can glean from all of that as we go forward as conservatives and as Christians in this country. The belt of truth. Wear the breastplate of righteousness. Fit your feet with the shoe soles of the gospel. Wield the sword of the Spirit, the helmet of salvation, and the shield of faith. The shield of faith. The Greek hot plates, Greek phalanx soldiers, as they would march, there was a known effect where they would all drift to the right as they went into their battle formation. The reason they drift to the right, you want to hear Tucker Carlson?
You probably should. Maybe, I don't know. No, finish up.
The reason, I'll finish up really quickly. The reason they drift to the right is because they have the sword in one hand and the shield in the left arm. And the natural inclination of a soldier is to move to the right to get behind the shield of the soldier. It was viewed as a weakness by many in the Greek military, by many of the opponents of the Greeks, that they would often drift to the right in their battle formations. But for the Spartans, for the Macedonians, they turned it into a strength. They put their strongest soldiers on the right flank. And their strongest soldiers would hold up the right flank, control the drift, and control the movement of the army going forward. As the soldiers drifted, looking for cover behind the shield in the left arm of the soldier to their right that was stronger to them. They found cover, they found protection there. Charlie was one of our soldiers who was on the right. He was holding up that shield. And today, we mourn the death of a husband, a father, but for a conservative Christian champion, I'm not ready to mourn. There's no talk of legacy, because look to your right, and you will still see the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, and the shield of faith. Pick it up, drift to your right, and be ready to take a stand, just like Ephesians says. I'll let you go to Tucker Carlson now.